Day, TGIF. Guys, I got a bunch of vlogs to put up. Today was a great day. It was a chill day for Friday. Guys, I know next week, I'm talking in Pennsylvania, this weekend is going to be pretty nice. I think this weekend is going to be almost 70 tomorrow and Sunday, but next week the temperature is going to drop. Hopefully we can get some more demand calls because, guys, most of the calls we're getting now is either maintenance or demand calls stemming from existing maintenance customers. We got like a few brand new customers here and there, but guys, you know how it goes, especially like I said, if you've been around the block long enough. Once you get past that shoulder season, I want to say like November-ish. Once you get past that mid to late November, like right before Thanksgiving, typically if the weather drops, that's when a lot of people that was like holding off, praying that their heaters magically fix themselves. That's usually when they tap out and they say, all right, it's time for us to call an HVAC company out to take a look. So typically, it's been like that every year. Typically, like late November, that's when maintenances. You got to prioritize doing maintenances from demand calls. But nonetheless, guys, let's talk about the topic of today. And this is something that I always talk about. Like I said, with the gym bros, guys at the gym. Guys, I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I'll say, growing up, like I said, guys, it was really, everybody was basically trying to make it. Me getting older, like I said, once again, I have a broader perspective. I'm not as narrow-minded, as I used to be growing up. But growing up, guys, everybody was paycheck to paycheck, and like I said, guys, if you had enough to pay your bills and had nothing left over, that's considered good. I didn't, growing up, it wasn't really a comparison. If you made it. How you got by is how you got by, and that's something, you learn to respect. But as you get older, you start to see different dynamics. You start to see, how other people, different dynamics, different backgrounds, different ethnics, you start seeing different things, and now you can compare and contrast, and you really figure out, what's important and what's not. But guys, I'm going to try to keep this as PG-13 as I possibly can, because guys, once I go off the rail, that's when, like I said, that's when something happens to my account. But guys, listen up. We're going to talk about the capitalism versus socialism or communism, debate. And guys, like I said, this is not like an attack against like people at the bottom or people at the top. Once again, like I said, I'm in a much better position than I was in 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So like I said, guys, I feel like I kind of like know the difference between, down there not having nothing versus having like some type of savings. And like I said, guys, and this is what I was telling my gym bros, like I said, last week at the gym. I feel like there's something called the Mendoza line, right? And for you guys that don't know what the Mendoza line is, the Mendoza line is at equilibrium. Equilibrium means if you're above that point, now you have your 3 to 6 month savings. You're not living paycheck to paycheck, but you're not rich. Let me reiterate this. That Mendoza line, if you're above it, that doesn't mean you're a multimillionaire. That means you have 3 to 6 month savings. You may be a couple paychecks away from disaster, but you're not borrowing money from Tommy to pay Jake. You get what I'm saying? But if you're below that Mendoza line, now, guys, that's exactly how most of us grew up. Like I said, guys, and it is what it is. You got to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's not, you can't talk about money in the household. Like I said, parents stressed out, family members stressed out. And growing up, guys, like I said, that's all you knew. I'm talking as a kid seeing it. You didn't really see, you didn't understand what you were seeing. You just took it for what it was, guys. But there's a lot of people living below that Mendoza line. And like I said, guys, and for you guys that's just getting in here, I'm just going over just something I had on my mind the other day about the capitalism versus communism debate. And guys, like I said, this isn't, rich versus poor. I feel like this is just, you got to understand the common ground between both parties, It's easy for me to say, and like I said, growing up, guys, I can tell you right now, growing up, it's easy to say, this rich person or this rich person that has a multi-millionaire mom and dad, oh, he thinks he's better than us or she thinks she's better than us. Gosh, I call that crab in the barrel mentality, meaning if you look at somebody that's not from your ethnic background or someone that doesn't look like you, someone that doesn't talk like you, and you think they got more than you, it's easy to hate. Like, I feel like that's human nature, guys. Like, I don't care how much money you got, where you from. Human nature, like, at its core is negative. I don't give a damn what you believe in. I feel like if you put more than 2 people in one room, and it's been said, if you put more than 2 people in one room, you always gonna have a disagreement, guys. And that's just how human nature is. I don't care what religion you study. Like I said, unless you make a a decision to be positive unless you put time into being positive, guys. Like, that's just how it is. And like I said, you can try your best to try to understand it, but like, negativity is always going to be there, guys, regardless of what you do. But like, going back to the dichotomy between capitalism and communism, I really think there's a difference, financially, as far as like having 3 to 6 month savings. I was looking at something online, and it says true. More than half of Americans, or probably more than that, don't even have $1,000 saved up for emergencies. And guys, like, I just got this other van back. This is the van that what I had to get. I had to get a water pump. That water pump cost me like almost $1,200, guys. And like I said, it is what it is, guys. I'm very honest and transparent with you guys, but like, that just made me think about it. I'm like, shit, like, if this were to happen to like 70% of Americans, like, who doesn't have some money saved up just in case of emergencies? Like, and knowing what shit always happens, when you least expect it. I'm like, damn, like, how many people would have been shit out of luck if they had to pay the mechanic $1,200 right now, like, out, unexpected? And I'm like, I'm very fortunate, like I said, guys, like, when times are good, that's when I think about when times are bad, like, and I'm gonna get into this, guys. We're gonna dive deep into this topic, like, in regards to the my personal standpoint, as far as where I stand with this, in regards to the capitalism and socialism thing. But let me look at the comments, guys. Hold on. I don't want to get too carried away. What's up, James? What's up? What's happening? What's happening? Juju, there's no common ground. I'm gonna get to this. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm just gonna do it. But look, guys, all I'm saying is this. That 70%, or I think it was at least 60% of Americans that don't have at least $1,000 saved up. I know it's true because, like I said, guys, shit goes down. And I feel like I mentioned this a few lives ago. I feel like a lot of people don't realize how bad things are unless it happens to them or someone they know. But like, jobs are getting cut. Like I said, like, regardless of how you feel about AI or whatever the case is, like, bad things happen to good people all the time. Regardless of how well you do, there's probably going to be some type of negativity and or adversity you're going to have to go through. But like, as soon as I paid that bill, I'm like, shit, like, I'm very fortunate once again that, unexpected expenses, whether it be $1,000 for a damn water pump or $10,000 on a new engine that I had to do like 2 or 3 years ago. Like, it is what it is, guys. Like I said, I'm always thinking net positive. Like, if I got to spend some now to make more back in the future, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna get that done each and every time. But like, guys, like, that doesn't necessarily mean that I think I'm better than anyone else. But like, guys, like, here's where I was telling my gym bros, because like I said, most of them understand exactly where I'm getting to. But like, there's a certain way they preface it to kind of like, to send us down the rabbit hole each and every time. Guys, my personal take on capitalism versus socialism or communism, I look at it like this, guys. And like I said, this is very vague. I'm not talking about trust fund babies. I'm not talking about if your parents did lay the foundation down. If that's the case, then like I said, you should be proud and be happy that, like I said, someone laid the ground before you to make your life easier. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking from my background. Someone that started from nothing, like I said, you started at a disadvantage. You had to claw your way out to get to zero. You didn't start from zero. You started from negative, God knows what. But like I said, you scratch and claw your way to get to zero. And like I said, everything was a hustle from that point on. I'm talking like people that can adapt to that mentality. But like, I'm saying in regards to those type of people, like, I feel like everybody, I don't give a damn where you start from. Most likely it's going to be, you're going to start from a place that you don't want to go back to. But like, everybody starts from a place of disadvantage or a place that they don't want to go to. They don't want to go back to. That can be either living with your parents. That can be either, having high credit card bills. That can be, ultimately, guys, everything comes from negativity. Like, and I like I said, I'm a man of many sayings, guys. Like, darkness is the mother of all light. What that means, guys, is a lot of good things come from messed up situations, guys. Like, and that, I can't explain it, guys. That's just the way life works. I don't think good things randomly happen. I think if you look at every good thing that happened to someone, ultimately before then, they probably had to go through some type of adversity. But all I'm saying is this, guys, like, and try to stay with me here on this topic. I feel like regardless of where whoever comes from, and like I said, trust fund or whatever, I feel like everybody has to go through something that they have to learn how to manage or how to deal with negativity. What I'm saying is, like, look, if that's in my scenario, if I know, damn, like, I know how life works now. No one's going to give me a handout. gosh, I know how that feels, like coming from a place of disadvantage, like, and that motivated me personally to never go back to feeling like that. And like, and this is where what I'm telling you is personal, it's real to me, but it may be subjective to someone else. What's real to me, guys, is me knowing that I'm not going back to a place of not having money saved up. I'm not going back to being a grown ass man depending on someone else to to take care of me, guys. Like, and that's just me. Like I said, I know some of you guys can relate to it. Some of you guys can't. That's okay. But like, not having nothing motivated me enough to, like I said, to never go back to what I was doing 18, 19, like at 18, 19 years old, guys. Like, I'm telling you, like, the shit is real. Like, before I went to a trade school, I'm working 2 or 3 part-time jobs, like, and I'm like, shit, like, I mean, it's not really adding up. I'm putting in all this work, and I'm like, most of it is just like, all right, I'm just feel like I'm wasting my time. Like, and guys, like I said, once you get past 18, I don't know, I don't know how you guys, what your upbringings are, but like, once you get past a certain age, you should know what you're doing is actually going to be beneficial. Like, I don't feel like, everybody has a subconscious mind. You should know, like, look, I'm motivated to keep doing this, or if you're in another boat, like, so I'm just trying to do this to get by, like, but that getting by stuff, the older you get, like, you got to have some type of purpose. You got to make sure what you're doing is worthwhile to serve something better for your future. But like, guys, I wasn't getting that satisfaction working 3 part-time jobs, and it got to a point where I'm like, you know what, I got to make something happen. Either I got to, like I said, think about maybe reconsider going to college, which I didn't want to do. I wasn't a 4-year student type of person, but like, I had to reevaluate my options, and I'm like, you know what, like, if I go to trade school, I got to find something that's going to be beneficial, or maybe, like I said, it can create a bigger opportunity for me down the line. But like, I didn't want to, like I said, do any dead end work. And like I said, I didn't have anyone around me that, that went through a trade school or someone I can just pick their brains on. I had to figure shit out as I went along. And like I said, guys, like, but I knew what I didn't want to go back to. I wasn't willing to go back to working part-time jobs, and that motivated me to learn as much as I can in trade school. That's without me knowing anyone that did HVAC. That's without me knowing, how I was going to pay all those student loan money back. That's without me knowing, like I said, if, like, guys, it was a bunch of negative shit, like I said, but like, I don't speak negative. I'm not a negative person. I'm not, never in my life that I just say, you know what, damn, I'm just going to tell you all the negatives. Nah, if I tell you something negative, it's going to be a positive message behind it. And like I said, guys, like, that's the beauty of life. Like, it's just like, I don't look at negative things like the end all be all. Like, everybody goes through it, but like, that should motivate you. If you're going through something negative, like, you got to figure shit out, and like, that's what I did. And like I said, I can tell you from my personal experience, like, that may not work for everybody, but like I said, gosh, everybody has something in them, like a negative experience that they don't want to feel or go through again. And like, I feel like that should be enough motivation to at least get someone started to work and go in another direction, meaning to like be more disciplined at not doing something, whether it be spending unnecessary money, bad advice, clear your mind, whatever the case is. Whatever you try to do is going to be way better than what you was doing yesterday, just indulging in negative and just wasting time. But guys, like, I encapsulate all this by saying, like I said, the communism thing, some people do need, governments and communities. I'm not saying that like everybody in America is independent and should be independent. No, like, guys, we got sick, we got elderly, we got people that need other people to take care of them, which I understand. But guys, one thing I disagree with the whole communism thing is like, everybody wants the same thing, but here's where shit kind of gets kind of misconstrued here. Everybody wants the same thing, but if you kind of like look behind closed doors, behind closed doors, guys, when no one's watching, who's actually really putting in the work? Everybody wants a millionaire, everybody wants financial freedom, but once they know, hey, like, here's what comes with it, you got to bleed for 6 days a week for 12 hours a day for 10 years, guys. Like, if you tell most people that's exactly what it takes, even if they know they have to do it, that's where discipline and that's where a lot of resolve comes into play. So like, guys, like I said, I can't tell you can't tell anyone else what they should want, but like I said, guys, whatever they tell you they want, that's commendable, that's respectful, but behind closed doors, if they put in the work, eventually it's going to show, guys. It's like, like I said, hard work and dedication always pays off in the long run. It may not be this year, it may not be 10 years, it may be 20 years from now, but like, guys, like I said, but what someone does behind closed doors, regardless of what they tell you they want, like, that's what separates, the haves from the have-nots. And like I said, guys, I'm not out, once again, I'm not out to, like I said, down people that's living paycheck to paycheck or crucify people that's billionaires and trillionaires. But guys, like, human nature at its core, like I said, it's always going to be negative. And here's another aspect that one of my gym bros was talking about. He was like, yo, like, what if, Elon Musk or someone just said one day, you know what, I'm gonna fix world hunger, and I'm gonna wipe out, like I said, literally, like no more homeless people. I know, guys, what's going on right now with the SNAP thing. He was like, let's say hypothetically speaking, if Elon Musk just said, you know what, I'm going to eliminate world hunger, I'm going to like put $1 trillion in like something crazy like that, guys. He was like, what do you think will be the ramifications behind that? And guys, think about what we're talking about here. If Elon Musk said, you know what, I'm gonna end world hunger. Think about the day and age we live in, guys. Like, and remember what I told you guys. Like, human nature at its core is negative. I got a feeling, guys, that like it's gonna be a mixed reaction. It's gonna be a bunch of people, like I said, that can't take care of themselves. They're definitely going to appreciate what he's trying to do, but guys, I think it's going to be more negative. There's going to be a bigger negative downside than a positive downside, because guys, with this day and age now, I got a feeling, like I said, if he tries to help someone, in the back of my mind, you know what I'm going to be thinking about is like, like I said, let's say a prime example, if I was homeless for whatever reasons, guys, like I said, assuming it's me trying, but shit just didn't work out. If I was homeless and like I said, someone helps me out, will that be the same as me figuring shit out and like actually getting it done by my own? I don't see how the two things really conflate. Like, if someone helps you out, sometimes you can be an enabler, and like if someone really didn't learn their lesson and you give them something, like give them food or give them money, that could send them further down the rabbit hole. So it's like, that's the tricky thing, guys. Like, I understand the concept of world hunger. I think the idea is cool, but like, I think that shit might send other people to say, you know what, damn, my last $6,000, if I get free food from this rich person in the world, now I can spend more money on drugs. I can spend more. Like, you gotta understand, guys. Like, and you gotta understand, not everybody at the bottom is like trying to get out the bottom. Some people are like, it is what the fuck it is. I'm not saying that's good or bad. You can draw your own conclusion. But like, I was telling my gym bro, I'm like, yo, like, if one person decide to end world hunger, like that might bring the world even further down in despair. Like, because it's just, guys, that's the unfavorable thing about success, is like you have to be the only person. You have to be your own cheerleader. Like, if you guys got support from family, friends, that's cool. But eventually, guys, like that desire to want to change your circumstance, that has to come from within. Like, no one's gonna see you struggling or see you crying online and say, hey, let me help you out. Here's like $10,000. And like, that's the only thing I'm not really a fan of communism. Like, I understand the sick and elderly, like that's a different bracket, but it's just like the idea of like somebody's bailing you out. Like, I feel like that's where capitalism really wins, because it's like, if you're actually willing to work your ass off, think about it like this. If you're willing to work your ass off, and like I said, like you have some determination and you're disciplined, how can you not win long term? That's proven science, you know, regardless of what you're trying to do. Hopefully it's something positive, but like if you put that much time into something and you're disciplined and you're consistent, like how can you not win? But like, once again, guys, I can't tell someone what discipline and consistency means if I don't know what they want, or if I don't know what's driving them to kind of like get it done. That's where it becomes subjective. You know, my zero, once again, I said this in other videos, my zero may be lower or higher than other people's zero, but guys, like ultimately I say, like, I always try to merge communism and capitalism together. The common goal is to be better than what the hell you was yesterday or last year. I don't care if that's $1 million, guys. I don't care if that's $100,000. I don't care if that's 20,000. The point is, if you can be better than what you was yesterday, that should give you more motivation to keep going, guys. Like, not to compare yourself against someone else. And like, guys, I'm gonna give you guys the real rap here. Like, not the gym I go to now. It was a gym I went to like probably 3 years ago. This is I think this gym was in New Jersey. Guys, it was this doctor. Like I said, I'm cool with everybody in the gym. I do my thing, work out. I like encouraging people, but like I said, I like the therapy aspect of going to the gym. But I remember this one cat. This guy had to been like at least in his 50s. I ain't gonna tell you what he did. He was basically in the medical industry. Dude was making at least dang near $250,000 to $300,000 a year. Older guy, married, kids, yada yada. Like, I mean, we all know what's up here and there, but like eventually, like I started wrapping up with him. I'm like, yeah, man, like, you know, talk about you know the economy, how shit is going, yada yada. But then one day, like he pulled me aside. He was like, yo, man. And like I say, he's always in good spirits. I never really had a reason, like I said, to go into his personal life or nothing like that. He was always upbeat, chill, and I'm like, yeah, man, keep on, you know, gym bro stuff. But like one day he came in, like I noticed like something was like off with him. I'm like, yo, what's going on? How you making out? And then I realized, I'm like, damn, like you good? Like I thought he had like some type of physical ailment. And that's when he told me, he was like, yeah, man, I'm going through it like at home. And he was like, man, he was like, hey, tell you what, man, to be honest with you, like I work crazy hours. But he was like, man, most of the time I really come to the gym, so I ain't gotta go home to deal with XYZ. And guys, when he started talking to me, like I said, he had family problems, like I said, going through like what he went through with his wife. But like, gosh, as soon as he started talking, I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm picturing this. I'm like, yo, like, if someone didn't know him and they just read his resume, this shit is like the American dream. Like making $300,000 a year, kids, wife, whole 9 yards. I'm like, if you look at his resume, this shit is the American dream. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know some people that make like damn a quarter of what he makes and are happy, but I'm like, are you like, what really, like, is happiness that subjective? Like, and like, it's not like he's not happy where he is in this in his career, but it's like his personal life, like I said, is definitely it was on the rocks. And like I said, he rebounded, but like it got to a point where I'm like, yo, like the dynamic of like high earners versus low earners, and you guys know this for a fact too. There's people out there making $500,000 a year right now, gross, but they're netting way less than what someone would make when they're grossing like 30,000. You got someone out there that's making $30,000 that's bringing home more than what someone's making 500,000 a year. Guys, like that's where the finances really, it matters, but sometimes it doesn't, because it really depends on the individual. It depends on where someone's at. That's what makes capitalism kind of subjective sometimes, because like I said, everybody wants to make that $1 million, but once you realize what that $1 million a year entails, the time is going to take away from what you're doing, the person you got to be. Like that's what I'm telling you. It's if someone tell you, hey, if you want that million, you got to bleed and work your ass off. Like I said, no matter what, for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, for 10 years. That's damn near what a doctor is, or whatever the case is, guys. But like a lot of people say they want it, but like behind closed doors, let's revisit this in like 3 or 4 months. That's why capitalism is respected, because like it's not easy for everybody to do. Like everybody can say, hey, damn, if I was 20 years younger, I could have started a business, or if I was 100 pounds lighter, I could have competed. I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda, brother. Like I feel you, but it's just like, like I said, what's not liked is going to be respected down the line. And like I said, what's liked right now is not going to be respected down the line. Like, I mean, handouts is cool, but it's just like, yo, like eventually it's like, look, like America is built off what? I know America is built off debt. That's another topic, but it's just like capitalism is respected because, like I said, most of capitalists now, like they work their ass off now to live a better life in the future. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to defract from like capitalism and socialism, but I'm saying like, look, you got to understand, like I said, communism has its place, but capitalism also has its place as well. But it's just like, I've been on both ends of the spectrum, and like I said, guys, I can tell you now, like that paycheck to paycheck mentality, I mean, that shit doesn't work past like 14 years old. I'm telling you, like, I'm saying as a young boy growing into a young man, after 13 years old, like I said, I don't know how you guys grew up, but like, once you realize every Saturday that, mommy, daddy can't take you to take you to KB Toys. And guys, shout out to KB Toys. That used to be a toy spot growing up. But once you realize that mommy and daddy can't take you to the toy store, every single week, like how you see on TV, like you start to realize how life really works. And like I said, guys, like it became very clear to me, like I said, at a young age, even if I didn't understand it, like it became very clear to me that, like, you know what, you have to really work hard now, and you have to really, it's not going to be instant, like, and what I seen around me, guys. I'm saying, like, not necessarily family, I'm saying from friends and like everybody around me. Like, you realize, like I said, the ones that really made it are the ones that, like I said, that work hard and really didn't expect shit up front and like really didn't complain. I'm not saying that works for everybody, but it's just like I said, and here's the thing, guys, like, to sum this up, man, with the capitalism thing, the shit is not supposed to be easy. So it's like the instant gratification aspect of it, like, most of what you do, you're not going to get appreciated. It's not going to be acknowledged until you get past that next level, that next level. You get what I'm saying, guys? And that's where that shit separates, like I said, the warriors from from the pretenders. It's a lot of people that want to get to that level, but like I said, once the shine goes away, once the glamour goes away, like I said, guys, this isn't really for everybody, and that's okay. But the point of life is for you to be peaceful. For you to find peaceful, and you got to find happiness. You got to find peace in what you do. You just can't want what everybody else wants just because it looks like a certain way online. Like I always tell guys, like, your goal after a certain age, man, like, it's to find peace and happiness. Like how that looks for you, it may be different than how it looks for me or someone else. But like, that's why like that comparison shit, it doesn't work. I'm telling you, like I don't like growing up. Like I said, I'm part of the last generation that like grew up without cell phones. We grew up eating cereal, looking at the back of the damn cereal box. Like guys, like so but once I got into the teens, that's when for you guys that dealt with Boost Mobile with the chirp phones, I went through that era. And like I said, guys, like I'm 33 years old, by the way, but I'm part of that last generation that, like I said, grew up literally without caring about, like I said, the internet or nothing like that. But like, guys, I'm saying, like, you have to, you got it, that comparison shit, man. I'm telling you, like, the capitalism and socialism, I respect both ends, but like I said, guys, I'm more so on the capitalist side because, like I said, guys, like, I don't compare my work ethic, I don't compare my goals to someone else. That really doesn't make any damn sense. Like, imagine me saying, like, damn, everything I do is a failure because I don't have 100,000 in cash. I don't have $1 million in cash. That's dumb as hell. Like and you got to understand that it depends on the person's values. If they value like money that much, and like I said, have at it. As long as they know, like I said, what's required of them. Have at it and have fun. But it's just like I feel like a lot of people growing up now. I'm talking kids. That unfortunately now they're in the microwave era, and like I said, they're growing up and seeing people, renting shit online. Like I said, to impress people they don't even know or like, going into debt. Like, think about it, guys. Like, there's kids right now, 10, 11 years old, thinking what they see online that's actually normal. And, like, comparing yourself like that, like, nah, guys. Like, I mentioned this a while back. Like, being yourself, being original would never go out of style. But it's just like, a lot of people don't realize that until it's too late, until they already tried. They wasted most of their life chasing an idea, that someone else put in their mind or of someone they should be or something they should say. Like, nah, guys, like, that shit is whack. I'm telling you, like, and that's why I feel like capitalism really rewards people for like being original. Communism, like the more you go backwards and you say, yeah, I'm gonna blame the government for everything. The government should feed us. The government should and like I said, I'm not really a fan of the government, but like I said, I understand why things are the way they are, guys. Like the government and like this is bad. And luckily, guys, like I said, I never was on like the Section 8 thing, but like as I got older, I started to realize like what the idea of that Section 8 thing was. Like the idea of them kicking out the dads, like, and like I said, guys, this is no slight towards anyone, once again, below that Mendoza line, but like the idea of that whole Section 8 thing, like for them to kick out the dads, like they only reward you if you make under a certain amount. So it's like, even if you try to better yourself, they're not going to help you out. So it's like, in a way, like, guys, think about it. It's really fucked up. Like, I don't know what the requirements are, but it's just like the whole idea of the government taking care of you. Prime example, look at the damn Corona thing, the stimulus paycheck thing, like, and you notice when they gave us the stimulus paychecks, like who's paying that money back? You don't like, and that's what you guys got to understand. Like, I don't want to jump in the rabbit hole, like I said, going into, pretty much how we're pretty much screwed right now with what happened with the coronavirus. But like America's debt problem, like it's not going away. You can't wish that much money away. You can't print more money. Otherwise it's going to lose its value. And it's just like, that's why I'm saying, guys, that's why the whole capitalist thing, like it gives you a broader perspective of not only people, but it gives you a broader perspective on how the world really works. But like I said, guys, unless you strive to achieve something past a certain level, I don't think you're really going to understand it. Because like, if I would have stayed at that mentality, guys, and this is the scary thing, I tell you guys right now, if I would have stayed at that mentality of, damn, it'll be all good, man. As long as I got the community by my side, it'll be all good. Gosh, I don't know where the fuck I'll be. I'll probably be on once again, still working a part-time jobs, blaming everybody, blaming friends, blaming, like, imagine how stupid that concept sounds, guys. Like, me being 33 years old, blaming parents, blaming friends, blaming everybody around me for not teaching me things. Like, guys, I'm telling you, past 13 years old, that blaming shit really goes out the window. And like, I can only tell you from my standpoint, this is without someone telling you what to do and what not to do. But like, I learned from being in the field, like being around, like I said, different people, good and bad. I know what happened. Like at a young age, if you keep making bad decisions, you're gonna go to jail for a long time. I already seen that. I didn't, this was no commercial. This is like real life shit. But it's just like, I knew what I didn't want to do before I knew what I wanted to do. And I mentioned that in one of my previous videos. Like, I didn't start off saying like, yeah, I'm gonna be a business owner now. I started off by saying like, yo, like, damn, I see these, I used to play basketball a lot growing up, going to the neighborhood parks. I see most of the guys, like I said, they might have dealt drugs or whatever the hell they did, but like, I'm like, damn, after 2 or 3 years, how come you don't see him? Oh, nah, such and such went to jail. Oh, nah, you don't remember what happened? Such and such got killed. And I'm like, damn, like, they was all good people, like showing wives and money on the basketball court. And I'm like, damn, like, How come I don't see nobody past 4 years? And growing up, this is back when I was like 15, 16, but growing up, I'm like, man, I'm not trying to be one of these guys, man. Like, even though there was good people, but like being in that environment, I'm like, man, I ain't trying to get caught up in nothing. But this is before I went to trade school. I was still in high school down there. But I'm like, man, I know, like I said, that shit is not for me. I wasn't like a follower type of guy. I was always my own person, even if people didn't understand it. You feel me? The guys, like, the more I got older, I'm like, you know what, man, instead of me falling into like societal norms of like what I should do or what I should think, I'm just gonna do my own shit. And like I said, guys, like, I'm glad I adopted that ideology of just being my own person, because look, guys, it pays off. Like, remember, I said this earlier, guys. What's not like now is going to be respected in the future, and what's like right now is not going to be respected in the future. Meaning, like I said, if you're dying to fit in, if you're dying for people to agree with you, like I said, if you think what's happening now is cool, like if you like this, and like I said, guys, this is where communism really kind of like fades away. Like, if you're dying, to for the government to take care of you, like I said, the government. You gotta understand, the government is a business. Like, they're not gonna, whatever they give you, they're gonna tax you like a motherfucker on the back end. I understood that clearly. So after I started the business, like, you don't really get loans and grants up front with nothing on the back end you gotta pay back, guys. Like, just use common sense. So it's like, if the government was a person, you think they're gonna give you $100 without charge you $80 a month? Or like, think about it, guys. It's so that's why, like, the communism thing, if it works for you, like, have at it, but I always lean towards the capitalism side. But like, once again, I'm not like an extreme capitalist saying like, yeah, everybody needs to make $1 million a year. No, like, but everybody should always be able to strive to be better than what they was yesterday. But how that looks is up to you. Like, stop, strive to be better, but don't be a like, don't fall victim to, like I said, like comparing you to someone that didn't even grow up in your circumstances, that don't even want what you want. Like, think about it, guys. Like, imagine me being 33, comparing myself to someone 33 that probably started with way more, started with way less, and probably got way past me. Like, I'm good. I'm happy for them. Like, and that, guys, I mentioned this in other videos. Like, I'm not naturally a hater. Like, I don't understand the mind of someone that hates all the time. Like, and like, I was always like that. Like, growing up, I seen a bunch of shit, like I said, negative, but I'm like, I never understood it. I always seen it, but like, the older I got, I'm like, yo, like, I see, people from, like I said, my background. I'm like, I never really seen somebody grow up without like actually despising people because of like XYZ. Maybe he did this or she said that. Like, yo, like, I feel like if everybody, and this is just to sum all this up, and like, I always try to find common ground with everything just for a perspective. Like, I'm like this. I'm like, yo, like, if someone's being the best they can be, even if they're past me, they got like fucking 80 million in the bank, 80 cummies, whatever the case is, guys. If someone is past me, I respect it. Like, even if I don't agree with it, guys, I'm not even saying, be their supporter. Nah, like, I'm saying I can respect someone without, like I said, having some negativity. I don't always have to agree with them, but like, I can respect it. Like, yo, like, that's what's up, man. Like, XYZ is doing this, she's doing it. Like, guys, like, there's enough bullshit out here. And like, I only knew that from me chasing my own goals and, like, say, getting to certain levels. There's enough negativity out here. Why would I waste my own time hating or bringing negative energy into thinking about someone else? Like, I don't. Like, you gotta just, like I said, wish everybody the best, but just stay on your square and keep working and, like I said, grinding until you get to a certain level. But like, that's how it should be. But like, this message is going to get drowned out by, like I said, the bullshit and, like I said, the things that young people see online now. Like, they don't even know how to be themselves, because they're already measuring themselves up to, like, so they got to change something about themselves just because what you seeing online. Like, nah, like I said, being original would never go out of style, but it's just like, a lot of people won't get that until a certain age, you feel me? Unless you've been around someone, that can really give you the game. But it's just like, that comparison, the old saying is true. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. And that's really true, because it's like, what good comes from constantly comparing yourself? Like, that's taking away time you need to grow and make sure you're taking care of your business. Like, unless unless your whole life is predicated on following other people, and like, I don't even understand how that shit works. Like, I don't have that much interest in, like, if I'm watching someone else shit, like, say, that's motivation, or like I said, I can say, you know what, damn, you see what she did? I gotta make sure I'm on my shit, man. I gotta make sure I'm good. Like, that's kind of like, that should be a normal train of thought. I don't know what else. I don't know how else to think besides what I just said. Like, yo, like, he or she's doing their thing. Like, I gotta make sure I'm good. I gotta make sure I'm taking care of business. You know what? Man, I know next week, man, whatever opportunities I get, I gotta make sure I'm ready, man. Like, guys, like, that's all normal shit. Maybe it's not normal, and I'm I'm gonna fall back on saying it's normal. Maybe it's not normal. Maybe you guys are around negative people like that, but yo, like that negative thought, like negative thinking and negative energy, it takes too much time away from like progress and time you need to like really work on yourself. You feel me? But like that's what I'm saying, guys. Like that's my take on the whole, capitalism and communism thing. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, hold on, guys, turn my volume down. It is what it is, in regards to whichever side you swing on. But like I said, one side hating the other, that's like the same shit as Republicans and Democrats, and like I said, not to fall too deep into, like I said, the political rabbit hole here, but like I said, guys, like there's no perfect, there's no perfect, political party. Like I said, Republicans have their ups and downs, Democrats has their up and down. Is it one for everybody? No. Like, and like, once again, guys, remember what I said at the beginning of this video. Human nature is negative at its core. Like, if you get more than two people in one room, it will always be a disagreement. And like, it's been that way since the beginning of the time. Politics won't change that. Race won't change that. Money won't change that. Like I said, it will always be, like I said, a disagreement. But like, instead of you trying to fit in, like, understand what it is. Like, and like I said, try your best to find peace and happiness in your own life. Like, but like I said, that's your job to figure it out. That's not the government job to tell you how to be happy. That's not, whoever you're with, whether it be wife, girlfriend, that's not their job to tell you what it is to be happy. You got to figure that shit out, man. But it's just like, but try your best not to feed too much into, like I said, the day-to-day, stock prices going up, crypto going up and down. Like, that shit is cool, but it's just like, yo, like, you can't let that, like I said, rot away your brain into thinking that, like I said, reality is not reality. A lot of people right now, brains are melted, their attention spans are like, are shrinked, and it's just like, yo, like, motherfuckers got to put their phones back down and just get back into, like, just understand how the world really works. Start chasing perspectives again from like real life people. It doesn't have to really be celebrities, but like I said, the good thing about YouTube and how you guys are seeing this now, like, there's a lot more people that, like, and like I said, hopefully they're being honest with you, but like, you can get perspective from everybody, people that made it, people that didn't make it. As long as they're being honest, you can draw a perspective. Like, yo, like, when I was growing up, I didn't have that much perspective to draw from. I just had to figure shit out. Me taking my 1,000 tries, however long it took me, gosh, I was going to make it one way or another, like, and that's just, if you was around me at the time, you kind of like knew what it was. Like, but once I made that decision, I had to cut a bunch of things off. And like I said, guys, like, I really don't have no regrets, but it's just, I really don't feel like my story is any different. I don't know what you guys think about it, but like I said, my take on my draw and what I'm telling you, as far as what I went through, I just did what I had to do. I wasn't thinking about comparing myself. Like, yeah, think about guys, me being 33 years old. Think about how stupid this sounds. Yeah, I'm gonna get a business just to start on my friends. No, motherfucker, I'm getting a business to escape the rap hole. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck no more. Like, you feel me? Like, that was my goal. Like, I wanted, like I said, everything I learned, guys, I learned to bet on myself. Like, in school, no one forced me to learn this shit. I knew I didn't have money to pay back student loans, but once I learned this shit, I fell in love with learning, and like, guys, it got to a point where, like I said, HVAC at one point, like, became my life. I'm saying, like, at 18, 19, like I said, the work I put in, like, and I'm not expecting any rewards from it. I'm not expecting any, financial gains. Like I said, it's you got to get, make sure you guys, are spending more or making more of what you're spending. But like, I already knew that, like, so on the back end, I was going to get taken care of. But as far as the work I put in, like, once you guys get in that mode, I don't care if it's HVAC, whatever work you indulge yourself in, once you know what the limit is, and like, you keep going, you keep, grinding and hustling. Like I said, guys, this shit turns into, like, look, man, ain't nobody beefing on this side. Like I said, all that shit is like, like I said, racism or communism, whatever the case is, that comparing yourself, and like I said, I don't have the energy or the time in me, guys, to compare myself or like think negative like that. The shit just doesn't work. You feel me? And like, I didn't always think like this. I was always stuck victim to like what was around me. But like I said, guys, as I got older, I'm like, look, man, like, everybody's gonna have to go through what they gotta go through, like, even if you agree with it or not. But like, I wish everybody the best. If you're around me with that bullshit, like, I always say, look, man, I'll always keep it positive. Like I said, what you're going through, I always think about what the solution is. But like, even if the solution isn't feasible, like, being negative and complaining, like, that's just not my MO. Like, I don't benefit from complaining or being around people that complain. Like, because like I said, I always like to find solutions, even if the solution isn't immediate. If that solution might take a couple of years, fuck it. By me hustling and saving and being disciplined for years, it's gonna be better than me wasting another 5-6 years of my life, not doing nothing, And like guys, like I was telling, like I said, guys, look, that's all we do at the gym, man. We like I said, we lift heavy weights, and like I said, we exercise our thinking, man. But I was telling one of my gym bros the other day, I'm like, look, man, I always tell guys like with I mean, regardless of the politics, man, I always tell guys like hey guys, this is one of my favorite books. I was telling someone about this. It's a book called Traction. It's a business book, but I read this a long time ago, guys. I'm like, one of the favorite topics in that book. I forgot what the chapter was, but you guys, he used this example. He told me, he was like, the guy authoring the book, he was like, yeah, there was a story about the old man, the dog on the porch, and it was like a dude that was walking through the porch. And like, guys, this reminds me of communism and capitalism, like 1,000%. He was like, there was this story about a man walking past the porch, and it was an old man, and it was a dog on the porch, and the dog was sitting on a long nail, like, and dog was bleeding, and the dog was like, you know, yelling. Like the man walking up actually knew that the dog was in pain. So the old man and the man walked up to the old man. He was like, yo, like, don't you see the dog has a nail in it? Like, why isn't the dog moving? And the old man said, the dog is yelling enough. The dog is in pain enough that he's yelling, but once it hurts him enough, he'll move. He'll get off the nail. And like, think about it, guys. Like, a lot of people are going through negative things now, and they don't like it. But once the pain of, like I said, of what you're going through, if that pain is bad enough, you're going to change. It's something about you is going to change, guys. And it's just like that victim mentality thing. It doesn't work past a certain point. Like, if what you're going through now, like I told you guys, my motivation was simply to be better than what the fuck I was last year. I'm saying when I was 18, 19, if I can level up each and every year, I'm not saying hit home runs. If I can find a minimum thing to do, like, damn, all right, if I learn this today, cool. If I learn that today, if I stop doing this today, guys, like, it's not easy to do, but like I said, if you keep applying yourself long enough, you don't lose long term. But it's just like, you got to quit with that microwave thinking. But like I said, guys, like, my motivation was simply to not do what the hell I did before. Like I said, before I went to trade school. But like that pain of, like I said, the pain, I know everybody's going through it, but like the pain of wanting to change, man, like I said, everybody has it, man. I'm telling you, and I don't give people a way out. Like I said, whatever negative things they're going through, simply I hear motivation. That's what I hear. Like, I'm like, yo, like, this dude saying he lost money from a divorce. She's saying she lost money from this. Like, yo, like, shit, put that in the bottle, and like I said, use that for motivation. Like, look, man, not like, and like I said, I'm not saying it's a light switch of, yeah, I'm gonna do, like, no, it's going to take some time. But like, yo, like, you got that change has to come from yourself. That change is not going to come from someone helping you out. Like, you got to get that shit out your head. You get what I'm saying? Like, but that book, guys, I think it's called Traction, or it's called Traction, but I forgot the sub name behind it. But like, that story always stuck with me. Like, yo, like, the dog is in pain on the porch, yelling, he's bleeding, but he's not moving. And like, the man walking on the porch, he was like, yo, like, how come this dog is yelling and bleeding? He's not moving. And the old man was like, don't worry about it. If that nail hurts him enough, he's going to move. And I'm like, yo, like, how many people are actually going through that right now? Like, whatever the economy is going through right now, whatever the economy is doing, like, yo, the economy is not in your favor, but like, you have to do something about it. It's something you have to stop doing or start doing. I don't know what that is. Like, once again, everybody goal, everybody mindset is different, but like, the common ground is to be better than what you was yesterday. However that may seem, or however that may look, but like, you have to, like, it's a lot of people that gotta get to business, man, and get back to work. And like I said, guys, like, I don't, like, where that leads you, I don't know if that's going to lead you towards capitalism or socialism or communism. But like I said, guys, you have to really, you got to have that internal factor in your head of understanding how this shit works. Like, build your life off reality. Don't build it off what you see other people tell you need to do. And like I said, guys, you'll be in a much better predicament. But guys, like I said, once again, to sum this up, I feel like I'm somewhere closer towards capitalism than I am, communism. But like I said, guys, I respect both ends of it. But I do understand, like I said, how the world works. And like I said, guys, and I built my life around, like I said, how things really are. Like I said, if I would have built my whole life around, what someone told me I should do or what someone told me I shouldn't do, this whole plan would have fell through years ago. And like I said, guys, like, I can only give you guys the real rap. And like I said, guys, whatever you guys choose to do, hopefully, you're gaining perspectives from everybody around you, or what you read or what you see online, in a good way and bad way. You don't always just learn from good people. You learn from bad people too. Like, as far as what not to do, if they're being honest with you, like I said, soak in as much game as you can. Like I said, guys, because you only got one life to live. You can't live your whole life only from your perspective. And then, like I said, that's usually, that's usually when you end up, dying. You only got one life to live. But if you can, see through other people's perspective, now, like, you have their years of whatever they went through, you have that in your brain. So now I'm like, you know what? Now I could think like, yo, like, I seen like, just hypothetically speaking, I can say, you know what? I remember what this old man told me like 10 years ago. I remember him telling me how he messed up his 30s because he wasn't disciplined. I'm like, now it's not going to take me, wasting my 30s or wasting my 20s for me to get it. I kind of like already seen someone that been through it. So, like, guys, always chase perspective. And like I said, make sure you guys are out there improving whatever you got to do. Like I said, it's not going to be easy, but just make sure, like I said, you guys are taking care of business. But guys, let me look at these comments here. I've been yapping. Shane, yep. Well, Shane, we just need to have about 350 million other people on board. Yeah, I mean, but like I said, that's what makes, capitalism works, is that you don't really need other people's opinion on what you have to do. If you're willing to work hard for it, when your opportunity comes up, you can't say you're not prepared for it, because this is the beauty of being self-motivated. If, like I said, I was in a situation in which I had to wait for one of my friends or wait for someone else to help me, it doesn't work like that with me. I like to set plans and like going, but like once opportunity, like I said, guys, I mentioned this before, you got to be very positive and you got to be very prepared for opportunities, because like once an opportunity comes up, it's either one or two scenarios. Either you're going to be ready based on your confidence level up to that point, you know exactly what you need to do, you've been practicing, you need to know what you need to do to execute. It's either you're going to execute or you're going to fumble the bag. And now if you fumble the bag, if you don't take advantage of the opportunity, now you got to wait for the next one. But like I said, don't get discouraged. Just know that, it wasn't ready for you. It wasn't meant for you to hit the home run or hit a single today. But learn from your experience, and like I say, you get better at it. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the comment there, but like that's where it gets kind of different though. Like the harder you work, the more you realize not everybody is like that. Like it's not up to me to tell someone if they're not working hard enough. Everybody got a subconscious mind. I know when I go to sleep that night, I know if I work hard or if I didn't. Like I said, everybody got to face that person in the mirror. And like I said, you can call me a truther, you can call me a liar, but I had to face that person, that man in the mirror. And like I said, at 18, and actually at 17, once I graduated high school, I'm like, all right, man, let me look at my situation. I ain't even comparing myself. I ain't comparing myself to nobody. I'm like, yo, let me look at myself in the mirror here. Like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm working 2 part-time jobs. I ain't got no future in this, man. I'm like, man, what the hell I look like working? And like, this is what I'm telling myself in my head. I'm like, yo, like, what the fuck am I doing? And I'm like, you know what, man? All right, forget these 2 jobs. I think one was at Sears and I forgot the other one. I think the other one was at like AMC or something like that at the movie theater. And I'm like, you know what? All right, this is for the birds. Let me just let this go. And like, that's when, guys, I had to be honest with myself. I'm like, look, man, if I got to go to trade school, like, I can't fail. I can't I'm not giving myself a way out. Like, I have to make this shit work. Like, there's no other way. I don't know what it's like to fail because, like I said, I don't envision this shit not working out. Either one way or another, like I said, I was going to find a way. But, like, guys, that what I'm telling you is very positive, but this is all coming from a negative situation, guys. Like, and most of you guys could relate. I know none of you guys are living perfect lives. All you guys have something you have to go through, but like I said, make sure you use that negativity for fuel and don't just feed more into the negative. Don't let it pollute your head. Understand what it is, but like I said, just know that you're playing a part in it based on your actions and based on how you're thinking. Like, it's not really, try to simplify it, stop making shit harder than what it needs to be in your head. You feel what I'm saying? And guys, sorry if I missed your comments. Like I said, when I go off on tangents, y'all should know by now, I just rock and roll here. Two skiddo when President Clinton said you should have enough to cover 6 months all your cost of living. I sat up and took notes. Yeah, I mean 3 to 6 months. That's how I go. Like, guys, my phone is getting hot and this shit about to die. But look, guys, 3 to 6 months is nominal. But like I said, I'll tell you like this, right? And this is just real rap, right? Listen up, guys. Like, for HVAC, you have peak seasons and you have, like I said, shoulder seasons, meaning droughts. When you're hitting your peak season, at that point, you should be making a surplus. You should be making way more than what you're spending. But when I'm up, I don't think about going crazy. And I mentioned this in previous videos, guys. When you up, now you got to think about, all right, what season did I just come out of? I just came out of 2024. The schedule being slow for 2 months. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I made an extra $2 or $3 this month. I'm gonna put that into a savings, and then guess what? I'm gonna get right back to the ground working, saving. And now, guys, once the schedule slows up, now you have, like I said, and I'm saying personal or business, like I said, regardless of how you cut it, you have to make sure, like I said, you know yourself and know that, like, look, you know, times don't always stay good. That's the beauty of it. Like, good times don't stick around, but bad times don't either. But you have to understand that this is one big ass cycle. You know, like when times are going good, just save some money for a rainy day. And like I said, when times are going bad, just understand that, you know what, I already know it's gonna pick back up. Let me just go through what I need to go through. And once times are good again, you rinse and repeat. And like, but the point is, you always have a surplus. I'm not going through my savings. Like, if I spend my savings, I feel like and guys, this is just some next level shit, right? And I'm a very disciplined person. Like I said, guys, I'm just radical, guys. Like I said, I don't have a filter. And like I said, that's why that's why I love these GMC talks, guys. I can say whatever the hell I want. I ain't doing this for money, guys. I'm just doing this because I like to talk to y'all. But like, how I look at it is like, look, my 3 to 6 month savings, like hypothetically speaking, personal and business, I look at the 3 to 6 month savings like that's the actual person. And guys, I haven't borrowed money from anyone since I was like 18 years old. Like, but my mentality is wired like that, guys. Like, I like saving. I'm a hustler. You get what I'm saying? Like, I always like making more than what the fuck I spend. You feel what I'm saying? But like, guys, like if it gets to a point where like last year around this time, guys, last October, like this past October, we did near double what we did last October. I'm talking October 2024. But like last October, like it was slow as hell. I can tell you right now, we probably got like down there service calls wise. And keep in mind, the weather plays a factor too. I'm not gonna say that, like I said, we're busy we're more busy when the weather is warm in the winter. No, guys, the weather didn't break last year until like down there late November, early December. So like, you know, a lot of us included, like I said, we had to dip into some savings, like, you know, for at least a month and a half, 2 months. But this month, guys, like I told you guys, we really didn't have a shoulder season. Like, it was just all, you know, like I said, as soon as we started doing maintenance, that's when the weather dropped. And I'm like, shit, all right, let me just take advantage of the opportunities we have now while it's still cold. So like, you guys heard me say this before, if you got to work Saturdays and Sundays, man, make sure you handle, you know, make sure you prepare for these opportunities. When they come up, you make sure you can answer the phone and you can handle business, you know, like, that's for sure. But like, yeah, I treat 3 to 6 month savings like it's an actual person. I don't always like to use it unless necessary, but if I'm dipping into my savings, I got to pay it back, and I got to make sure I can stay down, and for one, make sure I can, you know, get through what I'm getting through. But I got to make sure I can pay that 3 to 6 months back. So like, it's always going to be there, but you have to be disciplined enough to know that your 3 to 6 month savings is not. That's not, you know, you don't want to, like say, you don't want to spend it and not have a plan on paying it back. So like I said, guys, treat your 3 to 6 month savings like you do an actual person. If you borrow money, make sure you have a plan on paying it back. So like, that's the biggest thing, you know, because interest payments, credit cards, like I have business credit cards and personal credit cards, and like I got high limits, but like I don't really, you know, I got Capital One and I got TD Bank with personal, but like, and business, but like I don't feel the need. I don't have to rely on credit cards. Like, we pay our credit cards off at the end of every month. And like I said, we got, you know, rewards points. Like, I don't even use my rewards points like that. But like, the point is, I understand how credit cards work, but like, they raised our limits. I'm like, guys, that's another finesse on the back end. I know they raised our limits because they probably thought I was going to max that card out. But like, gosh, you know, shit is good now. Like I said, the only payment I make at the end of the month, like my whole life is on auto pay. Like, the only payments I make at the end of the month is just for the credit card. And like I said, as long as I have more than enough to pay the credit card bill off with, then like I said, guys, like the access, I throw that into the next month, and then the process starts all over again. So like, guys, like I said, you know, being disciplined, you know, the shit never stops. Like I said, the grind never stops. Make sure you guys are out there, like I said, you know, just you know, even if you don't have, like I said, you know, shit, even if you got $500, like make sure, like say, you putting something into your savings, and you know, that's going to give you some peace of mind of knowing that, like say, you're not one car repair away from, like I said, shit going left, you know. So, but guys, I can talk about this shit for hours, but let me go through a few of these comments here, guys. Once again, forgive me for going off here. Can you give me $100? Nah. Let me see here. I had the LeBron Curry, what's going on? But yeah, guys, like I said, that's the topic here, just the communism versus capitalism thing. Like I said, guys, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. But guys, I gotta roll. But there will be a lot more GMC talks like I said, on the back end. But like I said, I have all these, like I said, I have a bunch of, interesting topics, like I said, to go over. Most of this shit is not politically correct. So I want you guys to understand, like I said, most of this stuff has to be censored in a way. So I don't get my page taken down. But like I said, gosh, there'll be a lot more topics, mainly HVAC, but like, everything, like I said, in regards to, especially, like I said, everything I've seen growing up, all the trials and tribulations. Like I said, I feel like at the end of the day, guys, everything leads into a positive, and you only get to that end goal thinking if you stay positive, and like I said, you take accountability. Understand that, like I said, you're the only person that's been there with you from the time you was born until now. Like, you're not part of a damn conjoined twin, like, eventually you got to realize you're the main character in every single thing you went through. So like, next time, like I say, you feel like you got to tighten up on your vices, know that you was there in that story. I don't care if it was someone else's fault. Next time, like I said, learn from your mistake, but next time, just don't put yourself in that scenario to have to indulge in vices or like mess up financially or whatever the case is, guys. So, but there'll be more talks like this in the future. But guys, I got to get up out of there. There you go. But guys, be on the lookout later on. I'll put more content up. You guys know my routine. Videos come out at least once a day. And like I said, shorts will come out. I got a bunch of shorts too that I got to edit. Not from videos, but just like random shit. So if I have time this weekend, if not this weekend, next weekend, I'll get back to putting up the informational shorts. But like I said, guys, I just got to have the time to do it. But keep rocking and rolling. I got to get up out of here. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.